Good evening and welcome to the February 4th Historic Preservation Commission meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. Christy, could you do the roll, please?
Yes, George Piper.
Here.
Casey Sampson.
Present.
Scott Sewell.
Here.
Nicole Weathington.
All right, quorum to conduct business. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. If everyone's had a chance to review the minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A motion, and I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, we'll move right to new business with a certificate of appropriateness for Rocket Liquors, and I believe we will have a staff report first.
Good evening, Commission. Welcome to February. So far, it's been a pretty good winter, so I can't complain too much. Tonight, the certificate of appropriateness is for Greg Bush with Rocket Liquors. I'll go over the details as I normally do here real quick. The address is 112 South Meridian Street in Lebanon, Indiana. The zoning of the property is central business, and this property has not been before the HPC previously. The classification of the building is contributing, which is a building less than 50 years old and which is compatible with its historic surroundings, or a building which is over 40 years old and whose historic character remains but does not rise to the level of notable or outstanding. This building is included in the National Register of Historic Places Lebanon Courthouse Square Historic District. Tonight, the certificate of appropriateness is for a new awning and gooseneck lighting. A new awning needs approval from the Commission. The applicant has provided a rendering of the awning, which has been included in the meeting information provided to you all for tonight. In general, as previously been presented, awnings are encouraged in the district. So the applicant and I have been back and forth on a few things since the submittal. Originally, it did include LED lighting internally. And just as the same with signs, internal lighting is kind of discouraged. So we started to go down that path and have a conversation about how to light up the sign. And taking that signage lighting requirements and applying it to the awnings, we landed on gooseneck lighting to cast down onto the awning to provide lighting instead of from underneath. So very similar to what you see at the Greeks building is a good example, Greeks Pizzeria, and the applicant has agreed to do that. And the applicant, in the original rendering here, and let me put that up here real quick on the screen for everyone to see. You can see the dimensions there and everything. But we started to have some internal conversation about it. And Rocket Liquors is a nod to a famous Lebanon resident who happens to be a Purdue grad. So the question arose to the applicant, why are you doing red and white on a Purdue application? I think he got to thinking about it as well and agreed that maybe something else could be done. So I don't know that we went back and forth a little bit on the colors. I think the color is open for discussion tonight. So I'll give the applicant here, who is here tonight, the opportunity to come up and introduce himself and speak. We talked about a black and gold scheme of some sort. Originally kind of talked about maybe gold awning, black lettering, but the building itself has some yellow, beige, colors going on. So a gold awning probably blends with the building, maybe even clashes with the building and does not give a contrast. So certainly wouldn't suggest going down that path. We discussed black. Black certainly could have a fading effect to it over time, more so than maybe some other colors. I think modern materials have come a long way and will probably last a lot further than old materials used to. We had a black awning installed at the Hair Academy just north of there, and it seems to be holding up relatively well. I think it's getting on to a couple 18 months old at this point. So regardless, the awning color is open for discussion, as said. So if we want to continue it with the red and white, I don't think it's a problem. If we want to talk about black and gold, I think that would be fine as well. So we can leave that up for discussion here in a few minutes. So staff recommendation, awnings, as mentioned, are encouraged in the district. I think an awning in this building will give it some more depth and character. And with the alteration of adding gooseneck lighting instead of LED lighting, staff believes the lighting plan is appropriate. And with that, staff recommends approval of the application for certificate of appropriateness, color to be determined upon discussion here in a few minutes.
Okay. Any questions for Derek? Thank you, sir. And would like to speak with the applicant if you'd like to make any other additional notes or have any questions. You might come up to the microphones.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Bush. I'm native of Lafayette, Indiana. Still live in the Lafayette area. And just a little background about myself. Grew up on a family farm there, farmed for several years, and I currently own Bedrock Liquors in Lafayette. I've got 3 locations up there. So had this opportunity kind of come unexpectedly to get a liquor license here, so I decided to, it was kind of short notice, had to move quick, but anyway, I own a liquor store in Lebanon now, all of a sudden. And I came up with the name Rocket Liquors because I was trying to come up with something that kind of tied into the history of Lebanon, and I was thinking, well, Rick Mount's nickname was Rocket, so I thought that's kind of clever. I'll call
Perfect,
it Rocket Liquors. So that's where I'm at right now. We're excited to be open, and business is picking up. We've been open now maybe, I guess, a month. So I think it's going to work out. Hopefully the weather will break here pretty soon. But Derek and I, as Derek said, we've talked or emailed back and forth, talked on the phone a few times, and he keeps coming up with suggestions that I keep saying, that's a pretty good idea. So I guess at this point, if I talk to the awning people and they can assure me that black awning was going to, first thing my wife said to me when I said, well, we can do black with gold lettering, she goes, oh, black's going to fade and look terrible in a year or two. But after talking with Derek, I'm thinking that black may be okay. So at this point, I guess my desire would be to have a black awning with gold lettering on it. So, any questions you guys have for me?
I mean, I like crimson and cream, but I think the black and gold will be good as well. No, I think the black and gold will accent well, especially as you look downtown. There's all the metal fixtures are black. The Heart of Lebanon's looking on a project on the north side of the square, or again, all black metal work. So I think the black personally goes well, and I would agree with Derek that if we inverted those colors, it would clash with that building.
Yeah.
But I know it was mentioned about the gooseneck lighting. Do you have any ideas of what that gooseneck lighting will look like yet? I know in the report you weren't able to put that in the rendering, but
I guess I was assuming it was, I have a store in Dayton that we have the gooseneck lighting on, and I guess I hadn't given it a whole lot of thought. I mean, I was picturing it being similar to what's on the Greek Pizzeria there. As far as the color of the fixtures themselves, I don't know. I maybe go with black.
I don't want to speak for the entire commission here, but I think black would probably look the best, especially up against that building, and then matching the color of the main part of the awning, I think would be very complementary to both.
Right.
Will there be 4, or have you got that far, 3 or 4? I'm just curious. Not that it really.
It's this. If I remember right, it's about 20 feet wide. The building is roughly 20 feet, and so I'm not. I think at the most it'd be 3, possibly 2 to 3.
Okay.
But I'm sure we wouldn't have 4. That'd be too many. So.
Any other questions for the applicant? Any points of discussion? No?
I'll make a motion that we approve the COA as submitted, and then based on the discussion with the color scheme tonight.
Okay, we have a motion, and any further discussion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Congratulations and welcome to Lebanon.
Well, thank you.
All right, second item on our agenda is a discussion point with another new business downtown Lebanon, Clues Brews. Derek, are we starting with you first?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a kind of a quick introduction here to this conversation. I know this is a little bit different. This is an out-of-the-box kind of idea as well for the commission. It's an out-of-the-box idea for the city in general. So, you know, Patrick Clues and I have been going back and forth on some conversation. You know, I've injected my 2 cents. He certainly has explored all options. But before he started to spend some real engineering and filing money, design money, you know, I kind of landed on maybe it's just best to invite him into the meeting tonight, have some conversation to throw out a couple options, get him a roadmap so that he's not going down a path that ends up costing him money that ends up in a trash can. So, Clues Brews is a brewery that is going to be locally owned and operated by Patrick Clues. And a part of the renovation at 125 North Meridian Street is the official address, which is known commonly here locally as the Jackson Building. A complete first floor interior renovation is underway, but some outdoor seating is also a part of the overall master plan for this establishment. Outdoor seating that will occupy sidewalk space on Washington Street. So we've had a lot of internal conversations city-wise with what that looks like, and I think everybody's getting pretty comfortable with it. But what that structure cosmetically looks like comes under our purview here. So if you can flash up my screen, this is what you all are looking at. Option A and option B. So option A, what you see there is a manufactured structure that comes pre-manufactured, already state approved, basically put together, attached to the sidewalk, and it accomplishes what the applicant is looking for. We've talked a lot about rhythm and respect to the building, what that looks like. One of my main comments has been, you know, whatever structure gets put in this place, if for whatever reason, whether it be 20 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 50 years down the road, the structure goes away, the building should be treated as if it was never there. And I'm not saying that it doesn't need a little TLC to make it look like it was never there, but should be respectful to the way it's if it's attached to the building, should be very respectful. Shouldn't be removing several courses of brick and, you know, doing all sorts of crazy stuff to make it work. If something can be figured out to where it attaches to the structure through mortar joints, flashing is done in such a way that the material can be remediated off of the brick, which I'm sure it can, is kind of where I was going at with those comments. And so that's, you know, I think option A, I'll let Patrick speak to this in a minute, has the least impact on attaching to the structure, the building facade itself. My hesitation with option A is the rhythm of the way it looks with the building. As you can see, option A roof for the outdoor seating lands right in the middle of those half windows. And I think, personally, I think that kind of conflicts with the rhythm and the flow of the structure. So option B is more of a stick-built scenario where it has a shed roof coming off just below the second floor windows, and those half windows are brought into the space of the patio seating itself. But there is a challenge there on how to make that work with not being destructive to the facade. Like I say, I know there's engineers and people who are much more versed in construction applications than I am that can probably figure that out. But to see it actually presented here on paper, you can kind of get an idea of what the two ideas are looking like. So that's it in a nutshell of what we're just discussing tonight, just to give them a roadmap on which option A or option B, what is preferred by this commission to start exploring on spending the money to go down a path to get to a point where we're bringing an actual COA application to you all. So with that, I will introduce Patrick Clues, who will be able to fill you in kind of on the detail, more of the detail of what the differences are between the two options.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, Patrick Clues, founder of Clues Brews, and with me is my architect, Stu Shade. He can definitely talk about this a lot more than I can. But basically, the main driver of this outdoor space is the pandemic, right? So, we're funded by a local bank. We had to fight funding to even get funding during this pandemic. So, long story short, an outdoor space is very important to our success and our business plan. So we never really planned to attack this so early. We had to work to find the funds to even build this. This is about a $40,000 expense that we never planned to even do this early in this project. But it's very important to my business partners, our business plan, and our local bank that's supporting us. So basically, during the pandemic, restaurants were allowed to use their outdoor space. They were never forced to close that down, right? So we're after an all-season space that would have vinyl walls that would roll down. It would have overhead heating for the winter, and it would allow us to stay operational all season, as well if COVID-19 comes back, or it's not going anywhere, but ramps back up. So I'll let Stu speak to this more, but option A is basically a smart pergola system. It has overhead louvers. I can show you guys exactly what that looks like. So that would be if we can do the overhead. So that'd be a look from inside the facility. So it would have, it's smart technology. It would sense rain. Those louvers would shut. It would open up, on a sunny day, be completely open. On a rainy day, those louvers would close. There's an internal system that runs the water away, and this by no means would touch or affect the facade of the building. Bad part is they don't come high enough to go above those windows, so they're kind of standard engineered products. Basically, it is what it is, and so we had to come up with option B. And then here's an example of what those vinyl sides would look like as well. In both options, we're looking for black, aluminum, so everything would be black, aluminum wrapped. And then option B, here's kind of an example. It obviously would be all black, like I said. Stu can speak more of this to me, so actually I'll let Stu take it from here. But
Hi, my name is Stu Shade, and I'm the architect working with Patrick. It's our intent that either option is going to be independent of the existing building. We would not need to structure it off the building, be structured by columns. We might tie into the building with some ties into the mortar joints, but basically not to damage the existing building. As Patrick said, the smart pergola, it actually would sit a couple inches out from it. There would be maybe an internal gutter, but it's everything's designed to be independent. The shed roof is a metal roof, a dark metal roof. It would come out, we would pick the water up with the gutter and take it away. The roll down vinyl would be only used in inclement weather. It's becoming more and more of a familiar scene if you come up to a restaurant now that has outside dining to allow you to operate in the winter. Probably would have quartz overhead heaters lights, fans. All the lighting would be internal. We would not really see any exterior lighting except that we might be required for egress or something that the code may require. But it's pretty self-contained. There'll be a 32-inch or a 42-inch rail that would go around it that would isolate it from passersby. So there definitely would be a barrier between the seating and the sidewalk. We will work with the city to see what we need to do to have access around it. I think in option A, you see whether maybe planters, that's a possibility. That could also be an option B as well. We just showed different things. So there's a lot of options, and we are kind of here to answer questions and get some direction from the committee if we could.
Okay, thank you. I really like the greenery. I know it's very basic, but we'll start there. I think either way, on either option, having some type of planter on there really will help. The city's done a great deal of incorporating the planters downtown and bringing green space into it. And so I think adding something here, especially on that side of that structure, it's very, it's just all brick, concrete sidewalk.
I can speak to that, Casey. So we actually plan to plant hops and planters to go up the pillars, basically. So it'd be cool to make a beer with hops that were grown right here in the downtown. So
Yeah, that would be pretty neat.
that's my plan. Stu didn't really know that, but yes, I love planters. I do plan to plant hops and have a pretty vibrant atmosphere there. So
And then I think in regards to the, I think, more physical structure of this, I think B definitely complements the building much better than A. I would agree with Derek. Cutting in the middle of those windows, I think is more distracting than covering them up with that shed-style roofing. And to clarify, both options would have pillars on both sides, correct? So you would have
Correct.
north
We'd have-
and south of that elevation.
Correct. We have structural pillars up against the building
Okay.
and those out by the street.
I know for the structural integrity of the building, it's always better to not intrude into that envelope. What would be the necessary, without going into a engineering class here, what would be the reasoning for having to tie into the building if those can be set? Because ideally, I think having a structure completely separate would be better for the longevity of the building.
We would agree. I have a structural engineer that's working on this, and we will come up with a way to make this completely independent of the building with ever bracing. I believe the only thing we will need to do is cut in flashing into a mortar joint to keep the water from running down behind the roof.
Sure.
But that's easily fixed at a point in time by just tuck pointing the mortar, so.
Okay.
But yeah, we can do this with minimal impact to the building itself.
Okay. Well, those were my major points. Any other questions or discussion?
So I was just, that was going to be my, or not concern, but just a point or a question is on either one, because if you're going to have, that one was 2 inches away, you're going to have to divert that water somehow. So by using the mortar joint, that's an easy fix. And it doesn't invade, to me, it doesn't invade the, just being on that mortar joint, I think you'd be fine there, so.
Yeah, we were careful on the sketch. The roof will have to come down at least 12 inches from the window. We don't want to hurt anything around the window as we cut that in and put any drift load up there against the window. So we will take that into consideration as well.
Any other questions, discussion?
How the water, is going to be directed toward the street, the runoff, or how would it?
Well,
how would
I
it
think
go?
the city's going to have a lot of impact on what we do with that water. I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure they'll advise us where that can and cannot go.
Okay.
So we'll have to work with them on that. So it
How-
definitely can't go onto the existing sidewalk.
How wide is the awning or this independent structure?
So the structure itself is 9 by 75,
Okay.
so 9 feet wide, 75 feet long.
What's that, give you out of curiosity, is that just one row of tables all the way down?
Yeah, so we should be able to fit, it's about 7 tables that fit 6, so,
Okay.
plus an area where a band could be set up as well.
I know, if you go down in Indianapolis area, Broad Ripple, Mass Ave, you'll see a lot of similar structures like you had mentioned. And one thing that I would, and maybe I'd seek further direction from Derek or in the staff, but is utilizing that space as advertising space. I would, I guess, caution against the overusage of that, like temporary banners that you see a lot. I think that would be very distracting to the elements downtown. But I don't know if there's Derek, is there a section, I believe, in the banners?
Yeah,
If you know what I'm.
the sign ordinance, part of the Unified Development Ordinance will regulate all of that. You know, a building is only allowed X amount of square footage of signage, so anytime a sign application comes before us in the district, it's, you know, we're looking at several different guidelines there. We're looking at, you know, proper signage according to the historic guidelines, but we're also applying the square footage that's allowed in the building as well for buildings that have multiple tenants. Temporary signage is regulated in the community. It's something that we do pay attention to. Banners are temporary in nature. Applicants do get the opportunity to use banners, but for a very short period of time and only so many days in a calendar year. So for a special occasion or something like that, you know, the applicant would have the opportunity to use that for just a quick moment in time, but nothing that's going to be permanent in nature by any means. Even lettering on the apron of an awning is considered signage in the UDO, so that's all calculated in how much square footage an applicant can have.
And I bring that up at twofold. I think it's a using either option, but specifically in B, not the architect, but maybe in that section, you know, where that starts to transition, right before the transition, that on the actual face of it, would be a nice spot to put some branding that I think could complement the building as well. And then it would also designate what that space is for. So if you're driving on Washington Street and you just see this black structure, you may not know exactly what that's for, especially if you don't turn left onto Meridian. So if you utilize that, I think something permanent there may look nice. Just an idea, since this is a discussion. Not saying it's a requirement or anything, but I would just caution against the welcome race fans type banners, if you know what I'm talking about.
If you incorporate the greenery along the rail, like you mentioned, then that kind of takes away the opportunity to want to hang something there anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have no plans to hang anything like that. No, I mean, it's not my style and my brand. I'm very particular with everything that occurs with it, so I paid a lot of money for trademarks. Yeah, and as far as the signage, we're actually doing a sign off the corner of the building, so it would be right on that corner anyways. And we've already are through that approval process.
Yep, just a couple quick comments. They did approve a blade sign today that is in the purview of staff approvals, so got that approved today. And just a quick comment on the greenery. I agree, some, you know, color looks good. You know, this isn't necessarily HPC discussion, but it is in relation to, you know, greenery and space within the sidewalk, and the 9 feet is very specific that he talked about, because the city is going to require at least a sidewalk width of 5 feet access, and that's all ADA related. So putting on another hat that I wear for the city, the ADA coordinator. But 5 feet is the magic number for people passing, somebody coming in a wheelchair and somebody walking down the street and nobody having to move over. So planters coming off of that 9 feet will encroach that 5-foot sidewalk space that we're talking about. So we have 14 feet of sidewalk, I think we all determined. So 9 feet is that magic number. So some sort of greenery, I agree, is going to look awesome. We just got to figure out how that looks, how that works with that 5 feet of clear space when you start talking about that 70 some odd foot run. So maybe some hanging baskets on the post or something.
Just stretch the sidewalk a little bit.
You know, we could do away with the parking spots, but I'm not a politician, so don't get me started on that. So anyways, just quick comment on the greenery and the signage.
No, hops are a vine, so, I mean, they can be in a very small planter, so, yeah.
I know you had mentioned that there were no plans for exterior lighting aside from what may be required from egress, but have you considered any type of similar lighting or gooseneck lighting on that? I know it's a dark side of that building. There's not a lot of light there. If I remember correctly, there's one, maybe two, like floodlights on the far east side of that north side of the structure.
Yeah, we've honestly not even thought of that.
I think that may really pop that side. I don't know how you would work, but adding some lighting over there, some gooseneck of some sort, or maybe some just like sconce type lighting on those individual pillars. I don't know how wide or large those pillars, those upright support beams are, but.
I think that's well worth looking at, because we're going to have a 5-foot sidewalk that could be dark in the evening.
Sure.
And to illuminate that path is something we definitely want to look at. And I think you can accent the building just as well, so.
Absolutely.
That's something we will look at.
Okay. Any thoughts on overall versus A versus B, so the applicant has a solid direction on which way we're leaning or looking at? Would that help you, Patrick, if we kind of, what you like better?
My budget likes B, and it sounds like everybody else does.
Oh, your budget likes B, okay, well,
I think B is kind of where we were leaning to, because that eliminates the chopping that window line, and it's not gonna be too invasive, you know, to tie in or like you said, to tuck point into that mortar joint, so. That's what I like
like B.
option B.
Yeah, I like B.
and side note, did we save the door?
Yes.
Awesome, that'll look really
The door will
cool.
be restored, so,
That's amazing to hear.
yes. Yep.
Okay, well, there's no action items. Any other further discussion for Patrick? Okay, well, thank you. Welcome to downtown Lebanon, and I know we're all excited to see all the hard work you've put in over the last few years come to life. So it's an exciting time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other topics to come before the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Motion, and I'll second. Oh, we'll take it. Tie
We'll both
together.
second.
All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We'll see you next month. Thank you.